Do you have an employee in your business, or maybe many, that they lack consistency in their job execution? Or maybe you're in a time of business where you desperately need a certain employee, or maybe the only employee you could currently get to work out, but they just, passively refuse to, deliver or do what you've already taught them. Or maybe it's an employee that in the beginning or for a certain period of time in their early stages of employment, that was close. We're killing it, we're executing, but then after some time passed, they just grew complacent or just don't seem to care as much. Or the good days versus the bad days don't really seem to bother them. Or maybe it's an employee where, when left alone, struggles to deliver, especially in sales jobs. But when you spend time with them, they tend to get it right. The thing is, these employees are human, and they have a natural ebb and flow of emotion that's gonna affect how they perform day to day. The reason that it's frustrating for you, if you're the business owner, is that it doesn't seem to affect you like it does them. And you just get frustrated because you want them to get or to learn to have whatever it is that you have nice. But what you have that they don't have is why you're the owner of the business. And I don't mean as some special skill you were born with. What I mean is that you're the owner of the business. You were passionate about it, and that's why you started it. If they were gonna have the passion for your business that you have, then they'd have started the business themselves. They're gonna have a natural ebb and flow of emotion. It's gonna sometimes dictate the success of their day. And what you need to give them, because believe it or not, they want a solution just as bad as you do. So, what you need to give them is a solution. And the good news is, I have that solution. And it's called Flow. F-L-O-W. Framework for lasting operational wins. Come on, I'll show you. So, what are these frameworks? Think of them as an SOP or a guideline, but it's not gonna be anything that's super formal. It's not something you're writing out that needs to sound super professional for you to present to, a board of super sophisticated people. This is a kind of what I like to call an if-then playbook for your employees, okay? For every actionable step that they take in their day when they're facing their duties, their tasks, you're creating a step-by-step playbook for them of, if this happens, then do this, or when this happens, then do this. And you're gonna get extremely, extremely detailed. So, who's gonna create this playbook? You are. The person who cares? Most cases, it's the owner. You might be the owner of the business. Maybe you're a manager. Maybe you're just a colleague who is tired of putting in, this massive effort every day, who performs, and seeing all the colleagues around you not matching that or not being consistent. And it's stunting the company's growth, the company that you're counting on to increase your career and to further your profession, and then therefore increase your personal finances or your income. You're going to be the one that creates the if then or when then playbook. And really just think of it as that. So what's really important is that you need to be in the right frame of mind. Like I just said, you're not creating something that's super professional sounding. You want people to want to use this. Okay, there's a major factor on why it's just an automatic given they're gonna want to use this, but you have to write it correctly. And you want to do it like you're speaking. You don't want to write it to look super formal and professional. You want to write it like you talk. You want to write it like your employee or colleague talks. So when you create these frameworks, these SOPs, these playbooks, these are going to be put in a centralized location, which I'll get to a little later in the video on how your employees or colleagues will use this on a daily basis. But it's going to be a document that they can open up every single day and navigate right to the if that they're facing at that current moment. Could be a customer walking through the door, it could be an inbound phone call, could be an outbound sales call, whatever the if or the when is, they're gonna have a then to go find in this document. They're gonna follow it step by step, okay? So you wanna be very specific. Let's say your first framework is for the person who's answering phone calls. You're not going to start the framework with, the title of the type of phone call, meaning if the customer calls and says, I'm looking for this, or I need this, or I'm calling about this, then they go find that if-then playbook. You're gonna start with exactly what they're supposed to say when they answer an inbound call, okay? If you've been in business for any length of time and you're a business that takes inbound phone calls, then you know that when you answer the phone, you used to answer the phone really properly. Hello, thanks for calling business name. This is name. How can I help you today? And then what happens is you get busy, you buy back your time by hiring employees. And what they do over the course of weeks, months, years, is they've now altered that the way that they answer the phone call to business name. How can I help you? Okay, not thank you for calling business name. This is name. How can I help you today? Okay. Not to mention that with these playbooks, another thing that's super important is you're not just going to get very detailed and break it down and unpack it all the way to the base of what they need to do. Pick up the phone, okay? Answer exactly this way. Here's the script on how we answer the call. You're also going to train them or enter the tonality of how to say that, okay? So there's going to be a little bit of training involved later on when you deliver this to your employees that they're using it. And you're gonna go over kind of some tips and tricks. If I say, yeah, hi, this is Cameron over at Accelerate Growth, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to help me out or not, but I've got a client. That tonality is super important. So my staff knows if they see multiple periods, there's a pause in the tonality. They know if they see the last letter of a word repeat several times obnoxiously, that they really want to exaggerate the ending of that word. So you want to get extremely detailed. You want to be prepared to be in a place when you're creating this where you're role playing in your mind how those calls go. Okay, when I answer the phone and I say, thanks for calling business, this is name, how can I help you today? You know that there's probably 1 out of 5 responses that any customer is going to give you. The next thing you're gonna do is you're gonna put those 5 responses and you're going to then have where they should trail off from there. So think of it almost as a flow chart. If or when this happens, then move to this. If or when this happens, as a response to that, then move to this. So there's gonna be both steps and scripts. what to do and what to say. Now listen, if there's any part of you that is already going, man, this is gonna take forever. It's not. It really doesn't take that long, okay? I learned this from implementing it into the company that I work for in my W-2, my full-time position. And the very first time I created one was for a sales guy in our business-to-business department. And what I did is I just took one type of call he deals with and I just started there. It took me maybe 2 to 3 hours to do. So it really doesn't take that long. Now, if you can't see why, it really wouldn't matter how much time it takes. If you need to do it after hours in your downtime, do it after hours in your downtime. It really comes down to how big of a difference do you want to make. I would highly recommend doing it. You're not just creating a SOP for them to follow and scripts for them to say. You are in an isolated, uninterrupted headspace to completely control the outcome of every possible type of interaction that your employee has with your customer or your end user. Put yourself in the employee's shoes for a minute. When they're inside of a task, let's say you come into the office that morning or you come into work that day and you say, hey, I really need this. Could you get that done for me? Sorry, it's last minute. And could you get it done as quickly as possible? And hopefully if they're a good employee, they say, yeah, no problem. But because you had a sense of urgency, they dive 100% into that task. But what they don't have to ask you, hopefully, is that if the phone rings and their job is to answer that phone, they don't get to just ignore it because they're 100% focused on this task that you've asked them for that's important to you and now important that they get done. They have to instantly snap out of that frame of mind and be in the proper headspace to make the absolute most out of that call. Every single phone call has the potential to be revenue and profit for the business. They can't do that. 9 out of 10 times, they might be able to. 8 out of 10 times, 7 out of 10 times maybe, okay? But they can't do it 100% of the time. But because you are taking a moment uninterrupted to role play in your mind all of those individual situations that a customer may call for and then what you should reply, you've now given them the freedom to be human and said, let me carry you through this, where you fail as a human because we all do. I'm here to pick you back up. I'm here to help carry the load, okay? I've got a playbook. Turn to it, use it every day. It's reliable, it's always there. You can trust it, you can rely on it, and it's gonna give you success as an employee. They're inevitably gonna fall back in love or fall in love with what they do. They're gonna fall in love with the business that they do it for. And that's going to solve tons of problems. You now have increased revenue, increased, profit, higher conversion rates, greater customer satisfaction, customer loyalty, increased customer lifetime value, increased transaction values. Your employee is now reinvigorated, happy because they're having wins. They're having positive interactions with customers over and over and over again because you've shown them a way that they can now control the conversation. They know the outcome of every situation before it happens because you've thought of everything. So now they're happy again. They're reinvigorated. You don't have to be with them all the time. You didn't hire the employee to buy back your time to then be their motivational coach. So how does it create wins for your business? We just covered it. You as the owner, the manager, the employee who cares, often 9 out of 10 times, you wouldn't be having this thought if you hadn't done that position before or knew exactly how it needed to be done. So you're getting, again, an isolated, uninterrupted opportunity to create the outline, the step-by-step playbook of what the employee would need to do at every single turn to have the perfect interaction with each customer. Therefore, you're reinserting the passion, the drive, the dedication, the things that make you the owner that they don't have, that I had said earlier, otherwise they would have created the business. You have found a way to manually insert that into that employee's position that they are reciting themselves but you're not relying on them to do it every day on their own accord. You're not relying on them to be in a good mood. You're not relying on them to not have been pulled from one space and now being told to operate here perfectly. You're manually creating perfection, honestly, is what I think. I think this is a cheat code to manually create perfection. Some people won't be able to do this. Some people will say, this is why I train people. I'm not going to create this. This is going to take too much time. That's fine. That's fine. You're never going to achieve what you're trying to achieve. People will be people. Okay? Turnover rates, all of those things, hiring, firing, those are not new, and those will never be old. Okay? It's always going to be there. You need to implement this. It'll just be a matter of time, really, before you figure out that you have to and when you're going to give it the time to do it. So it's creating wins one way for the business by you being able to manually insert everything that makes you passionate about this company into the customer and the employees' interactions. How else does it help the business? Well, if I asked you, in a perfect world, having 10 out of 10 perfect interactions with customers, what would that do to your revenue? Boost it. What would that do to your profit, your bottom line? Boost it. What would that do to customer acquisition? Boost it. What would that do to customer loyalty? Boost it. It's going to boost everything. Listen, I don't know. This is not some groundbreaking, thing that I just figured out. What I figured out is that just because you trained someone on this a month ago, 6 months ago, 2 years ago, we're humans. When we focus on what's in front of us. If we haven't had to deal with this situation in a while, it's not like riding a bike. If you know how to ride a bike, could you get on that bike and ride it again? Sure. But if you used to hit 12-foot ramps on that bike and you haven't done it in 10 years, chances are you're not gonna have the same level of confidence. You're not gonna hit the ramp the same. You're not gonna land the same, if you even land at all, if you jump on that bike 10 years later and try to hit the same 12-foot ramp. It's not like riding a bike. We focus on what's currently in front of us. Businesses shift, they pivot, they add things, they grow, they expand. If they're not, why are you in business? Well, you need to have a little bit of sympathy for the fact that if you're constantly asking your employees to evolve, change, adapt, and learn new things, they're going to grow away from what you initially taught them, or some of the small things that to them feel minuscule, but to you, they make the difference. How does it benefit the employee and not just your business? It's a two-part thing. What benefits the employee still benefits you as the business because you're the employer. So happy employee, satisfied employee, passionate employee is a safe employee, somebody that's not gonna leave. It would be impossible, short of your employee already having an exit plan or giving their 2-week notice, or they really just hate your company or hate you. They're going soon anyways. But short of that, it's impossible for your employees, your staff, to use this playbook day in and day out, experience all these wins and successes and these wonderful interactions with these customers and scoring a perfect 10 out of 10 every single time, and not get reinvigorated, not fall back in love with what they're doing, and fall back in love with you and the company that they work for and that they're doing it for, and fall back in love with the customers, and to be truly more caring about providing a better service or a better product or better interaction with the customer. How does it benefit the customer? Pretty much covered it in everything so far, because it all has to do with the customer. Are we talking about finding ways to increase the value of the transaction with your customer? Yeah. Some people could look at that as, how does that benefit the customer? You're finding ways to take more money from them. Hopefully you're a decent business and you provide something that is a great value and a great service, and giving them more of that if they can afford it is not something you should be ashamed of, okay? So you are ultimately providing the customer with a better, a greater experience, a delightful experience, one they're going to remember. It's a memorable experience, and they're going to want to conduct business with you every time they have a need in the future for what it is you're offering. What you're actually creating with the customer is something that I call PLF. What is PLF? Personalized Loyalty Format. Have you ever had a friend, a family member, a loved one who they were talking about something they recently had done? Let's just say something at their home. Maybe the plumber came, the general contractor was working on something, the handyman came and fixed something. You've probably had some family members say, well, when the contractor was here the other day, or when the handyman was here the other day, or the other day we had the electrician out here, or a electrician. But then you have friends, family members, acquaintances, people you know who say, my contractor, my handyman, my electrician, my plumber. That one different word, my, that's personalized loyalty. It's personal to them. They're taking ownership over their relationship with you. This means you've created a relationship through wonderful interactions with that customer where they feel that you are theirs and they will use you forever. These interactions that they create PLF. So you're already getting a head start, and something else that I believe is 100% crucial to succeeding in business, growing, expanding, and accelerating your business. So where do you make this? Do you write it down? Do you type it on a Microsoft Word doc? Nope. Super easy, super simple, super free. Google. We're gonna use Google for all of this. The first thing you're gonna do is each playbook is gonna be built out on a Google Doc, okay? A Google Word doc. The title of the document is gonna be the task or the category of tasks where they all kind of fall into each other. So one of the tasks might be inbound calls, but there's a lot of different types of inbound calls. So title that document inbound calls. And then once you're on the document, each page will be the different types of calls that you take. The different types of directions that employee or staff member might have to take that phone call. And on the left side, there's tabs. So when you've completed a sheet, click the plus sign on the left side by tabs. I'm not showing any of this. Maybe someday I'll make a video, maybe that's stupid, but if just watch this video while you're doing it, I know I'm 100% right. Once you finish a sheet with the certain type of inbound call, what to do, what to say, okay? Then you're gonna hit the plus side on the left side by where it says tabs, and you're gonna add a tab. And that tab is gonna be if the response on that inbound call is this. They click that and it takes them right to that page where you're gonna have the playbook written out for everything they need to do and say for that type of call. When you're done with that, repeat. Hit the plus sign, make another tab, what the other kind of responses from the customer could be, and then what to do and what to say. And you'll repeat this until every different type of situation in that category, inbound calls, is taken care of. Once you're done with that, okay, you're gonna go to Google, you're gonna click shared drives, you're gonna create a new shared drive, you're gonna name it the name of your company, and then you're gonna give access to everyone in your company who needs it to that drive. Now, once you've created it, the very first thing you're gonna put in is folders. A lot of new folders. What are those folders? They are the different departments in your company. I'm just gonna throw some out there. Sales, customer service, technician, estimator, accounting, whatever the different departments in your business are, there's a folder for each one. Now, since the example we used was inbound calls, let's say that's someone in either customer service or sales department. So you'll click into that folder and then you'll make another folder for the different types of tasks in that department. So you click on sales. Sales might have how to provide a quote, so it'd be quotes, then inbound calls. Okay, they double click on inbound calls. That's where you're gonna save the document that we created with all the different playbooks needed for any potential call. You're gonna save it in that folder. Now, again, it's gonna take some time, but just do it one playbook at a time. It'll go a lot faster than you think. What you've created is now a centralized hub that every employee can use every single day.
They come into work, they fire up their phone if you do a lot of stuff through phone, their computer, okay? They go to that shared drive, they have it up and ready. They can at least go as far as getting into their department and then stop there. If an inbound call comes in, they go to inbound calls, okay? They click on the sheet and they get prepared to take that call, and they know exactly what to say. I was looking over here. They know exactly what to say based on what that customer says. The last part that is like no fun at all, which is just how to make sure your customers are using this. I'm bringing this up because I had to deal with this. Like I said, I only know about this. I created the flow process based on the company that I work for and all of the employees I'm responsible for in this company, which is all employees. What I found is, not because I think they're guilty of something other than just being human, is that there are days that they forgot. It was something new. So when I implemented it, they used it, a couple days passed, they forgot to open it. So what I did is I implemented a little step for accountability, not to catch them doing something wrong and to come down on them for. But if there was something that they knew was keeping them accountable, it creates a little bit more of a sense of urgency for them to use that thing. So what I did is Google will track every time a document is edited or updated. Now, this isn't something the employee can change. This is something on the back end. This is just the archive, the activity archive of the document. So what I do is I always make sure that the last tab, remember on the left side of the script, every script, the last tab is just a chart or a table, or maybe nothing at all, where the employee has instruction that every day they open that, they need to put that day's date. They could honestly put anything. They could put a smiley face, they could put any letter of the alphabet, a period, a slash. You can do whatever you want, but just to make it sound a little bit more official for the employee, I had them enter that day's date. Now, does that mean that I rely and I go to that doc and I rely on just that to know if they used it that day? No. They could enter that date at any point in time. They could skip using it for a week and then enter all last week's dates. It's because every time they put a date in, it's archived on the back end of that document. And so Google, I can look at activity and see, was this document updated on Monday? Was it updated on Tuesday? Was it updated on Wednesday? You can go back, check the activity, and if they entered the date, it'll show the activity. All right, so that's it for the video. I hope this is super helpful. Very early on in me putting videos on here, so I'll probably redo it another time where it might be better. So if you saw it this time and it was just not that good or it was hard to understand, I tried to convey everything that was super important. There will probably be another video on it in the near future, but until then, I hope that this video was helpful. If there was anything I was unclear about, it's worth just being creative. Take enough of what you learned from me in this video and try to implement it.